Human history is replete with migrations, relocations, movements across lands, across regions, across countries, across continents. In the past few decades also, we have seen Western nations roll out a number of programs to attract foreigners, immigrants into their own countries. But sadly enough, in the past few years, we have also seen, growing anti-immigrant sentiments all around the world, from America to Europe to Asia to the Middle East, and even right here in Africa. So in this scenario, in these circumstances, here is the big question. Should you stay where you are or still relocate? If you are at that point where you are contemplating relocation or to stay where you are, then this video is for you. Or if you know anybody who's in that situation, then you can share this video with that person. So in this video, I'm going to share with you, some myths about relocation and emigration. I've done one video before now, on empowering immigrants in the diaspora. I talked about some of those myths, but here I'm going to top up. And the second part of my presentation here, I'm going to look at some things to consider, while you're making a decision to relocate or emigrate. And then in the final part of my presentation, that lies the main menu of this video, which is, should I say yes? Should I say no? If you stick with me to the end, then we can both answer that question. So if you're ready, come on, let's dive in. Now some myths about relocation. I gave 5 in my previous video. If you have not watched that video, the link is in the description below. And in this video, I'm just going to give 3. The first one is this: my success is on the other side. In other words, your success is in the new location you are going to. When you relocate, that's when you find success. But success is not specifically about location. Success is based on principles. The things you do or fail to do, the strategies you adopt to achieve success. In any case, what success means to you might also, it's also important. What does success mean to you? So there's a feeling that when you relocate, that's when you find success. But success is based on principles and not specifically on locations. And the second myth is this: the myth of finding happiness. Many of us think that when we relocate to another country, another place, then we'll find happiness, But, happiness is not a destination. Happiness is not found in a place, Happiness is within you. You create your own happiness. You embody happiness, So if you think that if you relocate, you will find happiness, and where you are not happy, then you are guilty of what is known as the fallacy of arrival. And what is the fallacy of arrival? It's a misconception that when you achieve certain goals in life, when you are married, you have gotten a degree, or you are relocated, then you find happiness. Only to get to that destination or get to that position and find that you are temporarily happy. And quickly the happiness fades away and you're back again looking for something else, to give you happiness. So that is the kind of happiness we say is externally controlled. But the true happiness comes from within. You create it. And you can find happiness even in the simple things of life. Now the third myth is the promise of being ahead of your peers or mates. When we were in the village in those days, we wanted to go to the city as a way of, leaving our mates behind, our peers behind. The same is true for relocation or emigration. We have the idea that when we move, when we relocate, we're trying to get ahead of our peers. By the time we come back, our peers look at us as the real big success. But I tell you what, when you go away and leave people behind, the people you left behind are not sleeping. They also set out to work. And you may be surprised that you come back someday and see that, hey, these guys you left behind are doing equally well, if not better than you. So the idea that if you get there, when you relocate, you'll be better than your peers is a fallacy. Because people do stuff, they don't just sit down. They strategize, and so it doesn't work that way. Now, these are 3 myths I used to top up from the 5 I gave before. Now, let's go to the second part of my presentation here today, and things to consider when you want to make the decision to relocate. The first one is this. It's a question. What do you want? What do you want? So, and this connects with the idea of understanding your life's purpose. What's your life purpose? So if relocation, aligns with your life purpose, that's fine. Because the purpose of life is to live a life of purpose. So if your life is not purpose driven, even when you relocate, you might not really find a purpose. So, that's very important. So, now, second one is this. You want to evaluate the push and the pull factor. Where you are now, what is pushing you away to a new location? And the new location that you envisage, what is pulling you there to come? Is it based on myth, some of which I've discussed now, or on reality? So you need to evaluate the push and the pull, so that you're able to make informed decision. And then, this one is a super one that I like so much. Divine guidance, and the work of providence. I believe so much in the leading of God. I believe that if God is leading you in anything you do, you have nothing to fear. So I believe in getting, divine guidance in anything I do. And I suggest that you do this too, If you spend some time to pray about your move and you feel led to go, that's fine, So divine guidance is very important. Then the work of providence. Sometimes things just work out themselves like that in ways that you don't understand, and make things possible. For example, I've always wanted to go abroad and teach, and work there. So I tried some time, it didn't work. But when the time came, everything just, worked, everything just came together, and I found myself as a visiting professor in another country. So providence can make things, just work this out for you. I know you can from there know that, yes, this is the way to go. Then you need to understand the times and the seasons. If you read Ecclesiastes chapter 3, you say there's a time to be born, a time to do, a time to, which are called the seasons of life, So it might just be that you are in the bad season and the good season will come. Maybe you are in the season of weeping, the season of, and then the season of joy will come. You are the season of, breaking down, then there will be a building up. So it's better sometimes to take time to reflect on the seasons. You might be in a bad season, and if you stay on longer, the good season will come. The law of polarity, binaries, cold, hot, and this and that and that and that. So you have to understand the season. It might just be that you're in a bad season and the good one will come if you stay longer. It's the same thing if you also relocate, you also have the seasons there. So you have to understand life is full of changing seasons. And it's not that when you have a bad season, you move. When you have a bad season, you move. It doesn't make sense that way. And then more importantly, the universe is guided by laws, is governed by laws. I've just read the 7 laws of nature, 7 laws that guide the universe. So if you are not aligning yourself with these laws, if you don't understand them, you don't apply them to your life, then even when you change locations, nothing changes. The law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of gender, the law of attraction, and so on and so forth, the law of rhythm, the law of polarity. So there's so many laws that guide our universe, and you need to master these laws so that you can master every aspect of your life. There are also spiritual laws, sowing and reaping, giving and receiving. So if you are not a type that applies this spiritual and natural laws, into your life, and then you might well just be, even when you relocate, you might not get anything because the same, you don't understand, so it follows you everywhere you go. And now, this last point I want to make, at the end of the day, how will you measure your success? You are relocating to be successful, but what is success to you? How will you measure your success at the end of the day? So this is very important, because the ideas we have of success determines the kind of decisions we take. So let me go to the final part of my presentation, which is the big do. And that is, should I say yes? Should I say no to relocation? Now, if you ask me, it's not an easy answer, but I will give you a few, tips. Let me start by some powerful quotations, which will help you. The first one is by Hellen Keller, the American author and activist, from her book, Let Us Have Faith, which was published in 1940. And it says, I quote, "Life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing at all. Security does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than exposure." End of quote. That's Hellen Keller. So life itself is an adventure. I took some 7 years ago, I left my tenured job, my secure job, and I took an adventure to an unsecure job, and it paid off big time. So life is an adventure. If it works for you, fine. If it don't work, you'll find your way back again. So that's one. Then another quote from Sun Tzu, the Chinese military general, strategist, and philosopher. And he says, unquote, "If it's to your advantage, make a move forward. If not, stay where you are." And that's where I got the title for this video. So if relocation is to your advantage, why not? If not, stay where you are. And then there's another quote. This one is coming from me, And I quote, "If God or your intuition is leading you, please go. Even if things don't turn out well so quickly, you can rest assured that everything will be fine in the long run. However, sometimes it is better to stay where you are and dig deeper with patience, perseverance, and resilience, because no condition is permanent. Life is a binary of seasons, as we saw in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, which I mentioned some time ago. So, if after reviewing all these points, thinking about everything we've said here, and you still feel like, yes, if your answer is yes, very good. But as you go, remember these 3 points. 4 points. 1, there's no rose without a thorn. So as beautiful as a rose is, it still has thorns. So everything might not be good where you are going to. So when you see the thorns, where they are, the problems, you understand that there's no rose without a thorn. And 2, as you go, leave all options open. Both sides, leave all options open. Then also do not burn the bridges so that you can move, back and forth. And then finally, where you are going, have the courage to stay if possible. If not, have the courage to also return to where you are. So I remain yours sincerely, Austin Emielu.